When we purchased the park, part of the action and acquisition plan was the intent to provide within 5 years of our purchase a parking lot, a barrier-free lake access, and a nature center through the renovation of the existing residence. When the park opened at the end of 2004, we were happy to offer winter sledding opportunities, picnicking, shore fishing, summer concerts, a winter carnival, and outdoor nature programs. And the residence has been occupied over these last 5 or more years by our park caretaker. In 2009, the Parks and Recreation Commission distributed a township-wide community attitude and interest survey. And more than half of the township households indicated a need for a nature center. And a nature center was one of 4 recreation facilities rated as most important. Nature programs and environmental education were rated as one of the top 3 most important programs needed and chosen by township households. Also in 2009 and 2010, the Parks and Recreation Commission hosted many public events, including interviews, focus groups, and several open houses to gather input on these proposed improvements. This culminated then in 2010 with us submitting an application for another state grant to make these improvements. We were recommended to receive the grant, and the proposed improvements are for the provision of barrier-free improvements at this park through the renovation of an existing residence for nature center use, the addition of a dock for fishing, non-motorized boating, and nature observation and education, accessibility improvements to an existing parking lot, creation of accessible pedestrian routes between the park facilities, outdoor signage interpreting 6 plant communities, and the addition of stormwater vegetation filter buffers in the parking lot and at the lake edge. This will be the township's first and only interior space dedicated to nature center use. It will be the first township park to provide non-motorized boating opportunities, and it will be the second township park to provide a dock for fishing and nature observation. This past year in 2011, the Parks and Recreation Commission has been working very hard with Pam, as well as other members of her project team that she will introduce probably later, on this project design that we're going to be reviewing with everybody tonight. And we've also been continuing to meet with our local school district representatives, both from Rochester and Lake Orion, as well as representatives of Dinosaur Hill, to ensure that these improvements meet the needs of the students and other interested parties. So with that, I will turn it over to Pam.
Okay. I'm just going to go a little bit over the proposed development for the park, and then if you have more intensive questions, you can certainly ask them when you do a full agenda tonight. The buildings that are out here and proposed are all existing buildings that are already out there, being it was a residence, and they also had horse rings and barns. Those are all facilities we're working to reuse, and so a lot of the design, maybe you think, wow, gee, it's kind of a crooked road, or the parking lot's a little different shape. But we've worked very, very hard to kind of settle this development out there on the site with the least impact. One thing I think I was very impressed with the Commission's commitment to is when we were bringing this design before we brought it to you. Actually, the surveyor came out and we staked all the edges and personally selected the trees that are being removed, and so very carefully have been setting this development onto the site. Lost Lake Trail right now is a gravel road out there, so we are coming off a gravel road. We're proposing an entrance drive. This is in the same general location as the entrance drive that's out there, so if you've been out to Lost Lake Trail, we are, however, widening it to 2 lanes. It was a residential driveway, so it was only 1 lane in. The parking lot, if you are out at the site right now, the parking lot runs more in this direction and is really an old horse ring. So we've rotated that parking lot for a couple of reasons. One, to make sure we can come in and have a bus turning loop. So for special events, when they do off-site parking, so that we don't have to try and necessarily park hundreds of cars out here at a time, we can bring in and drop off. Also, a real key component of this will be the education and bringing in schools and classrooms, which again will arrive by bus so that we can drop off onto the walkway system, have them circulate through, pick up, and leave the site as well. You'll see the light gray areas here. This is an interior walkway system for pedestrians, and it's to link the park facilities together so that we provide accessibility. Sometimes you hear it called ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. The real movement in parks and recreation facilities is universal accessibility, which is meaning universal, everybody together. So many of you probably know someone who's had a knee replaced or maybe a hip replaced. Those people there generally would like to walk on something that's firm. So they may not be in that wheelchair like the signs you see often, but there's a lot of different people with mobility. So we want to make this very accessible. So we have accessible parking spaces that tie into the walkway system. These are outdoor toilets. The warming house, if you notice there's some new picnic tables around that warming house. The education coming to the site will be coming in classrooms where they'll stage them in 20 minutes or a half hour at this stage. Then we'll do water biology at another stage, wildlife. So there would be a group you can meet there and use that when the sledding hill is not in operation for other educational uses. The walkway here comes up to the, this is the residence that's out there. The caretaker currently lives in the house. They'll continue to live there. But it's a very large house. And so the lower level will take about 500 square feet and create a visitor center that has an occupancy of about 37 people. And also provide really the first public indoor restrooms on the site, because right now the public facilities are portable toilets and not, say, a flush toilet. So there'll be toilets in here and a room for education. This loop here is left in here. When special events and summer concerts are held, they're held out here on this lower area here, which is the existing sledding hill. And winter carnivals, things like that. And so additional parking. This is, again, an old horse ring. So it's not that we're cutting down any vegetation. That's already been removed just for special events, allowing cars to park on that area. Coming off from this corner of the parking area and down to the lake is a walkway again to provide accessible walkway down to this floating dock system. There's boards over here with additional information, but this is an ADA accessible kayak launch that allows people to sit on a bench or transfer from their wheelchair and utilize the kayak launch. People like it with kids, adults like it, everybody likes it because it provides a stable way to get into the kayak and then launch into the water. There's an existing garage already called the boathouse affectionately down near the lake. Again, this is existing, nothing new, but that'll be where the kayaks will be stored and available for people coming on site. This dock is really multi-purpose to provide for a lot of water biology, wildlife observation, ability just to get out on the water and enjoy being out on the water. So that is the floating dock. The main structure there is about 20 feet by 24 feet. Kind of give you an idea of what that size is out there. And again, this lower area, you'll see this oval here with some squares or rectangles. That's another education node. So either you can come out here at lunch and park and come down and have a picnic overlooking the lake, or you can be utilized for water biology. A large addition to the site is additional natural planting areas and water filtration so that we can slow down and filter the water, in particular off the parking lot so that the water drains back into the middle, into this bioswale. And then right now, if you go out here, this is all lawn area between the house and the lake, and there's not as much filtration. The lake edge is more mowed, and the intent will be to bring that to a more natural state around there. Retaining some lawn area for park activities, but to really provide this filtration so that all the water coming off the site will be pre-filtered prior to entering the lake.
Okay, great, thank you. And this was all grant money, is that what you said, Mindy?
It's a combination of Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund grant and land preservation and park funds. The grant is paying for 60%, we're paying for 40%.
All right. Before I ask Mr. Nix to, excuse me, chime in here, normally on a project like this, we'd be looking at detailed site plans and have our extensive review. However, on this particular project, given special circumstances, our review is quite limited. But I'll let Mr. Nix go through his letter. But we don't, this is not one that we will have to deep dive from a detail. As interesting as it is to understand all that, it's not the subject of our evaluation. Mr. Nix?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I normally start out with an overview of the project, but after that presentation, I'm not going to touch that. That was a great explanation, and it's certainly very consistent with what we've seen before out of the Parks and Recreation Commission in this community. You know, another fine addition to the recreational facilities and the nature-based kind of facilities that we see in the township. Over the last number of years, we have seen a number of changes, though, in the laws that deal with township planning and zoning issues. And this is affected by one of those, and we asked Mr. Jopik to provide us with his thoughts on how this township-based project works with our zoning ordinance and the Michigan planning statute. And he indicates in an opinion that he provided to us that really under the Michigan Planning Act, you as a planning commission by this community are asked by various boards and commissions here in this community to review public types of projects in terms of the location, the character, and the extent of how they impact on the community and those proposed improvements here. And they're really not subject to our zoning laws, as most projects would be public type or private-oriented type of projects. So our comments today are really only based on the location, character, and extent of the proposed improvements here. In going through the township recreation plan and our master plan, you know, we came to the conclusion, and I'm certainly sure you'll come to your own, that the site plan and proposed improvements here are consistent with those plans and the past plannings that this community has done over the past several decades and are consistent with the current planning documents that we currently have. This is an action tonight that is not a recommendation to the township board. It's your decision tonight whether to approve the proposed improvements to Lost Lake Park or to recommend or to deny those improvements. Now, just so you know, as part of the Planning Act, if you so choose to suggest and deny this project, the Parks and Recreation Commission can, in fact, by a majority vote, overrule your decision. That's just how this law works. It's a little unusual. In fact, it's one we haven't had one of these in such a long time. I'm not sure we've ever even done it under the new law that's out there in this fashion. So I just wanted to let you know that.
So let's go back through that. Normally.